This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
I'm in a place now of not creating these things for validation, not creating anything for the hope that I will have arrived, but creating things as an offering.
The universe is a funny place. And when your number one value is optimism, and let's call it what it is. People, I see the shit that's happening. There's an election coming. I know there's heart palpitations for some of you thinking about the way the country is going and beyond. But like, through my silly deranged mentality, I try to stay positive and I try to be an optimist. And the universe decided no less than 6 weeks ago that I would have the opportunity to be part of, we'll say, a pretty special evening. I was in Washington, D.C. If you know the wharf people, then you know where we were. And I had the opportunity to close down a night at a event called The Shift. And The Shift was a place where around 100, well, let's just call them really good humans who happen to be in the nonprofit sector, had come together, collided together, and it was really about a night of inspiration. So here I come zipping in, and I'm aware of what the lineup is, and when I look, I'm in awe to meet the very first speaker, the guy who's responsible for the first inning, and to the point where you're like both trying to figure out, like, why did they invite me to come speak if they invited this guy to come speak? And my guest today, his name is Brad Montague. And Brad, you've been described. First of all, what's up, my man? It's good to see you.
Hello, hey.
And I'm assuming you're back in Tennessee at this point.
I am, yeah. I'm in my my office, my studio, my workshop, my treehouse, whatever it is.
And honestly, there's this weird thing that happens for some of us. I don't know if you've been able to do it, but in my brain, I was both excited and nervous knowing that I would have to go after you. Granted, it was like an hour and a half later, and you want to look. You obviously want to be prepared, and you want to land your message. But I think to be honest, Brad, all that went away the minute you started sharing your message, and I just like it's like this. It's like all the stupid shit that your brain does sometimes. It just went away. It went away, and I was like, I was right there with you in your story, and so.
Thanks, man. No, I had the privilege of starting it, so I didn't have to hear the brilliance of everybody else beforehand and be in my head of, oh no, Ryan said this. Oh, what in the world? These people are incredible. I just like made a little appetizer and then you brought this meal, so like the tone was set. But man, it was such a cool night and cool to connect with you and to hear your voice and the way that you bring such gravitas to something that everybody can lean into to make life better for the people around them. I was just, yeah, it's really good.
Just stop. We're here to talk about you, man. No, I appreciate that. I found myself just wanting to get in your world more and like learning about you and the journey that you're on. And I don't know if you remember this or not, like the first thing I learned about you when we finally met, and I like obviously knew about you. And if you don't know Brad Montague, guys, like go check out his work. It's amazing. I've got his book right here, which is Becoming Better Grownups, which we could jam on this if you'd like.
You got it.
But also just I was introduced to you through your partnership on Kid President
Yeah.
and bringing that to the universe. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is like, we need more of this now. Like, put you in an IV, drip you into America. How do we do more of that? And we need you. We need you now. But I digress a little bit. If you remember, we end up in the green room and it's like a whirlwind and you're probably just getting ready to go on. And the last thing you want to do is pleasantries. Not that I felt that in any way, shape, or form. That's more me than you. I learned that you were like, I can't draw hands.
Yeah, well, that was fresh. I'm on an art deadline right now, and I've been struggling to draw hands for these characters, and talk about imposter syndrome. I have hands, but I can't like draw them. Like I'm trying to draw a book, and so yeah, I have all these situations in the books right now where I'm trying to creatively conceal the hands, they're like behind their backs or leaning back, or holding something even. But yeah.
It was like so perfect of a like I just can't get them right. These hands. And are they human hands or bunny hands or wait, what were they?
Yeah, it's rabbit hands and mouse hands, and again they have paws, so but there has to be a logic to it, and yeah. So anyway, I'm struggling with
Well,
that.
let's kind of go back to how do you go about like, when you meet someone new and you're at a dinner party and they don't know you and someone's like, so what do you do? Or you like, and they're like, I'm an accountant or I'm a lawyer. What do you say?
Yeah, well, there's that's a question I have never enjoyed. That like, so what do you do? Because I want so badly to just say doctor. Like, that would
Yeah.
be great. Like everybody would go, "Oh, wow. Oh, what a smart guy you are." And, you're a productive member of society and you have money probably. And man, and I have a mole you should look at. Like all that stuff. Like suddenly they get it. But instead I have to go, "Oh, what day is it? Like, what am I doing?" I don't want to say I'm an artist because then they go, "Oh dear," and they roll their eyes, or I'm a writer, or, I've always cringed at, oh no, what do I say? Like I make content for the internet. Like, oh no, nothing sounds good. And we were at this meal one time, and there were all these really important people who had jobs that they could easily say in a noun, like I am, a senator. I am Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Like she's sitting right beside me. And I'm going, oh no, she's gonna say, so what do you do? And I'm gonna be like, oh, I make internet things. And she did this great thing where she asked me right after we meet. I mean, she's a Supreme Court justice. She didn't even have to talk to me. But then she's like, so, Brad, what do you love about what you do? And it was just like this Jedi mind trick. It unlocked everything. And like suddenly I answered. I was like, oh, I love telling stories that inspire more stories. Like when you create something and then somebody goes and makes something. I love seeing kids' eyes light up when you help them realize the possibilities of who they are and what they could be. I love seeing like old people when you ask them their favorite teacher and then they suddenly like become joyful and then become a kid again. I love this. I love this. I love this. On and on. And I was like, oh wow, she just got me. Like I was able to tell her all these things I love, and because I couldn't had never articulated a lot of that before, and I think what I'm learning is to be able to put that into shorter words of creating things from a place of deep love that help other people feel loved. So I tell people I am uh, a a helper and an artist and a teller of stories, and that leads to fun places. I can find out what they need and how we can be friends, learn about who they are.
I feel like she did for you what you do for us.
Yeah.
You're like a little key. You're like a little key that you can help unlock people. And I felt that. And I would say if if you weren't here and I was describing you to somebody else, this might make this really awkward because you are here and I'm describing you to you. But I would say, and this part came from Justin McCord. Shout out to Justin right now,
Oh yeah.
who's one of the reasons that we met. And he he called you Mr. Rogers. Like if Mr. Rogers, if Mr. Rogers and Pat Adams had a crazy night, I think that's you. I think you're the
That's very kind and something to aspire to, for sure. Um, yeah, what Fred Rogers did was really important, and it was very important to me when I was a kid. Like I thought he was talking to me, and then I realized, years later, millions of kids grew up feeling the same way, and what a gift that was. And he's one of the few heroes I've had that learning more about him has only made me, respect him more. Like,
well, you do have a relationship with the family, yeah?
I've done some work with the Fred Rogers Center. It's now the Fred Rogers Institute, where the archives are in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. They have done a few events there. I did a project for them that was taking one of Fred's last challenges to people. So, like one of the last things he said, and everybody talks about his look for the helpers, look, that quote. But actually, like one of the last things he did was a charge to people who grew up watching The Neighborhood, was to be a helper, and it was not just to look for them. And his like advice, and I had it on my wall for a really long time. And so when the Fred Rogers Institute like reached out asking, can you help us with something? It was this charge. It was to make goodness attractive. Like that was his big, that if we're going to nudge things forward in a positive direction, we have to actually tell stories or put images out that make goodness attractive. So I did a project for them that was highlighting people who are doing that and ways you can do that. Um, and that's a lifelong challenge to try to do good things, but not in a way that's showy, but in a way that makes it attractive to want that to be the North Star for everybody, for you to just be a good neighbor in that way.
When do you think Rogers started to land for you? Like, do you remember yourself at 7 or 8, just being enamored with that universe and then it just stuck?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been interested in childhood and childlikeness. I always wanted to write picture books or create things that were that kind of experience, something that works for a 4-year-old and also for the 40-year-old who's in the room with them, maybe reading the book or watching the film or whatever. And that there's something really interesting about what Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood did is that if you watch it, there's a pace to it that's slow. There's a way in which things feel like it's for preschoolers, but the actual messaging is true for a preschooler and their parent and the grandparent, that there's something so interesting there. And there's great stories that do this. Pixar does this exceptionally well. There's lots of artists who do this really well, but those things that, work for us at the earliest time in our life and that are true forever. And so that's always been a thing that, as a puzzle, I'm trying to put together, a thing I'm trying to crack. Like, how can you create something that works truly for kids and former kids? And I think that's where the good stuff is.
I think the former kids thing is tricky, right? Because I've always felt that we're little boys and girls trapped in these adult bodies, and we're like, it's like who's trying to suppress that child versus is sort of at peace with that, and I'm okay. Like you talked about gravitas. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like in my brain, I have hair still. I'm 11. I'm just running around the soccer field. Right. This is like my blissful, happy place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's also a data point, right? That I was a lucky one. Like I did have a good childhood. Like I did. There is joy in that. Uh, I wonder what percent of this is a different show, but like what percent of people feel like they had a good childhood and they enjoyed their childhood. I felt very lucky that I did. Therefore, what a surprise that little boy still lives on in me and in my work. Do you think this is because you honor your childhood and therefore it's a multiplier amplifier to create it for others, like you said, make good attractive? Or do you feel like, no, I still want, like, it wasn't exactly what I wanted, therefore I'm going to make it and I'm going to stay in this space? Like, what was it like growing up, Brad Montague?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a guidepost for me, a guiding light for me in a way of asking the question, how can I be who I needed when I was younger? And I share that message and that challenge. And anytime I speak to grown-ups, anytime I'm in a room, this idea of be who you needed when you were younger. Because something happens to people when I ask that, because they immediately, their mind always goes to either what they had, like, oh, I want to be this person. I want to like do what this person did for me, or what they didn't have. And it's like a reaction of, oh, I definitely don't want to be that, or, oh, but I wish I had that. And it's an interesting question because it always sparks that. And it sparks a little bit of tension for, I think, everybody, that thing you want to reflect that was positive and that reaction to the thing you don't want to be, or that gap that was missing. And I think it speaks to a space where you can serve really strongly. Like if you start to ask, okay, well, I know what it feels like to be seen and celebrated. I'm going to reflect that. Or you can say, I didn't have somebody who said positive, affirming things to me. So I'm going to do that and create that kind of room, that create that place. And so I think a lot of my work grows from that. It's, some of it's a reflection of really good things, and some of it's a reaction to things I didn't have. And it's that cocktail that, I'm showing up. And so when I speak, I'm trying to create the room that I didn't have, and like when I was in school, that like I want everybody to feel like they belong, and I want it to feel like this place of hope and possibility, where everybody's seen and celebrated. And so when I ask the question, how can you be who you needed when you were younger? It's always interesting because a lot of times people are already doing that to some degree, and they hadn't put the words to it, whether it's as a teacher and they're working directly with children now, or they are working in some other capacity. The work they're doing is because of the journey they've been on.
Yeah, I feel like I would like to have a time machine and like remember that show Quantum Leap?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
What a cool idea. I think they did a remake. I mean,
I
this
didn't
is,
follow it. I heard it was actually good, had redeeming qualities. I mean,
yeah,
it's a worthwhile idea to play
yeah, to
around
bring
with that
back.
concept of stepping into somebody else's shoes.
Yeah,
Like, you talk about film as this empathy machine, this thing that can generate empathy and understanding. Like that show was an exercise in that weekly.
yeah. I mean the OG one, not to knock the new one, but like I remember being a kid watching Quantum Leap and being like, yes, I want to do that. And the spot Scott Bakula, I think that was his name.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right. And And so if I had a time machine right now, I would like to Scott Bakula back to Brad Montague's fourth grade class. And like I would just like to be in the fourth row, right behind you, four seats back, and to be like, what was Brad like? Was Brad just a doodler? Were you a daydreamer? Were you an introvert? Were you sweaty palms, Brad? Was it messy? What was Brad like?
The honest answer is that I began as very extroverted, joyful, free, creative weirdo who loved like bringing people into that kind of madness. Kermit to the Muppet Show, like, come on, let's go, like all that. And the school dampened that.
Slowly
And
strangled that.
yes, so by fourth grade, I had quieted, introverted a bit, not sharing things, and kind of, had my, gotten excited and wanted to share, and then kind of got, made fun of or told to be quiet or told to slow down. And that was the grade I had a teacher that was, I actually dedicated one of our books to her. She's the first person, one of the first people that found out when we made the New York Times bestseller list. And it was because when I was in fourth grade, she found that I was doodling on the backs of tests, and she had no idea that I was like this creative person. And she was like, hey, if you don't rush through your work because you're missing stuff. But if you will, do the work, I will give you paper and time where you can draw on your own, and you don't have to write on the backs of these things. Don't rush. And then she started, giving me time in class and giving me extra projects to like find a way to put that kind of energy into things, and to be seen in that way, understood, and not like reprimanded, and like to be like, she seemed genuinely like, I really am delighted by this weird kid instead of troubled. And I was like obsessed with that moment, that person, and trying to be that for other kids forever.
Do you feel like you
Shout out to Miss Perkins. That's what I'm talking about.
shout out Miss Perkins? Hi, Miss
Miss Perkins, she's
Perkins.
the one. She just retired years ago. Excellent human.
Um, this might or might not land, so keep me honest. Like, did you need her? Like that, like she was like a lighter for you? Or I always felt like, and again, I really want your answer. Like my answer is I was such a daydreamer. Like my brain was, I'm not a doodler. Like I want to get to uncracking stories on like, cause you love words too. You love words. Like I read your stuff on like, one of my favorite lines on your LinkedIn profile is partnering with schools, families, brands, and more to fill the world with more wisdom, wonder, and whimsy. And I'm like, yeah, I like that's how I feel about words. Like I like putting a smile on people's face when they read a combination of words like wisdom, wonder, and whimsy. It's like, I know what you're doing. I like doing that too. But I don't feel like I had, maybe I missed it. I don't feel like I had a teacher who ever saw me like that. Like K through 6 for sure. It wasn't until college when my mind was blown that you could work with your hands on cameras or write
Oh
scripts and
man,
do.
you told a story about a friend's dad. You had a friend's
Yes.
dad who saw you and said, and as you were telling that story, I was like, man, I wish I'd had that guy.
Oh, that's so funny, isn't it? Because like we're both like, I wish I had that teacher,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're like, I wish I
No,
had that guy.
I have been, and it's just deeply honest here, like since since college, trying to find older people, especially, men, like male figures who had the kind of creative spark that I have, that like that are alive in some way, doing things that are interesting, and who have kids who still like them, like trying to find like these people that like, I want to learn from you, I want to be your mentor, and being very intentional about that. Like I've even actually typed it and sent them to people like that, who I'm going, I want to learn from you because I need you. I need you in my life. And they've responded, thankfully. And I now have that finding that kind of person is a real gift. And I don't think you have to have a wizard that shows up and is like, here's exactly what you need and here's this. But it sure helps to have some people to help you navigate being a person.
Navigate Being a Person will be your next book. That's a good title. I like that title. Yeah. I I feel like I gain energy from you, and it's probably because, you're in your universe and I'm in mine. But one of my favorite moments of the night wasn't a moment that I was on a stage. It was when we tried to go away and have a conversation after. And let me apologize in advance for those just listening and not watching this. And I was like, let's talk about ideas. And your response was, yes. And the palms got moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
It's the good
ideas.
stuff.
Right? It was like the campfire showed up and we just sparked the wood.
People don't usually say that. Like when someone says that, it's like, oh yes, you're my part. Like
Yeah.
I love ideas. I love it's a sea of ideas. Let's go.
But you're also good on not just on the idea side. You're not just in dreamer camp. You're in doer camp. And do you mind me sharing? Do you mind you sharing the quote you sent me about doers?
Yeah. It was like one of the things that I've been guilty of is sitting in blue sky world for so long of like dream and do this and I'm gonna do this and do this. And I actually had a friend who before I had started Kid President, before moving on to writing, he pulled me aside. He's started so many incredible things, helped so many people, and he was like, "You're one of my most creative friends, but we're all just waiting on you to actually do one of your ideas." And
We're all
I
just waiting.
hated him. It's like, dude, that is low. That is me. What's he talking about? But then the more it just kept eating at me, going, "Oh no, he's right. Oh no, I love ideas, but I also had this fear of messing them up by actually trying to do one of them." So that led to, actually creating some discipline around things, creating some systems where I am not just, I have space to dream, but then I'm actually bringing things to life. And so that led to this quote that's in this book that we just had come out, The Fantastic Bureau of Imagination, where I have a character going through a similar thing. And there's this cave of untold stories that's building up. And so one of the big pivotal moments in the book, he says, "Dare to dream, but please also do, for dreamers are many, but doers are few." And I think dreamers who do, that's where, you can think immediately, your mind goes immediately to these people that maybe you see who are doing vibrant, meaningful things in the world, that are engaging, that are making things better. And those, because they have that combo of dreaming and doing, and we need both,
I
which
mean,
is exactly what you were talking about.
well, again, I so love the quote. Like, just so you know, it's been implemented into my keynotes. Like that, you sent me this picture that I have of you on stage, and
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
I give you all the love and credit in the world. And it's funny, I, again, I try to be careful on this shit, Brad, because it's like people, I, you want to be the guardrails so people can hear your story and understand all the amazing things that you're doing. I will say on the definition of courage, I have this part where I go through and provide knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage. And
yeah.
then after each one, I'll give a quote on knowledge, and a teacher from Harvard. Then I give a quote on the importance of faith and taking the leap. And it's a VP at Google. And it's like, really? The VP at Google is talking about faith and leaping. Like, that should tell you something that the numbers guy still says. And I had a Pablo Picasso quote on the action side, and it was good. And it was like, he said something like, "It's what one does is what counts, not what one has the intention of doing." And think it's super strong and surprising from Picasso. But the minute you sent this to me, and again, I'll read it. Dare to dream, but please also do. It also sounds like you. Dare to dream, but please also do. For dreamers are many, but doers are few. And it's, I didn't mean to rhyme, but it's true, right? It's like we, I think if we're lucky, we pass go into dream camp.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that alone is a huge victory because I think a lot of people never got permission to dream. And then I love how you took it a step further. It's like, okay, it's like Goonies. We're not there yet on the treasure map. We have to keep going. And the few words that really stood out to me, which is really cool to hear, because I think we're similar. I see myself as a creative, but there's joy in process. You use the word systems and discipline. And I think when most people think of dreamers, dreaming and discipline often are like, wait a minute, how did you guys aren't identical twins words, but you need each other. So talk me through, if you don't mind, some of the discipline or the systems you've created, inherited, adopted, so you can go do what you do.
Yeah, a huge change for me early on was actually setting a goal written in paper. Like, that was so scary, which is silly. It's just like it's paper, whatever. But that was the beginning of, I mean, I have a weekly practice. I've done it forever of writing down on note cards. Here's what I'm going to work on and accomplish and release. And because there's this artist side of my brain that wants to, play around, and it's not perfect yet. It's not time. And I've had to balance that by keeping things playful. So it's going, hey, this is part of the process. This is go, just you're getting this done this week. You're going to do it. And that has, early on. So the first project was doing videos on YouTube. And I could have noodled forever to make them exactly what I wanted, to do some sort of, technique that made it cinematic or added color grading or whatever. But no, I'm doing one a week all summer. So I created a short video every week all summer. And then by the end of the summer, I had people actually watching. And these were just 2-minute videos. And that not only were people watching, but one of those people was, Dwight from The Office.
Normal,
and, and it was this huge lesson of, it's not a lottery that you win, even though it felt like it. It's showing up every single day, and so that has been the work. I write every day, I draw every day, I create something from a place of love to share every day. Sometimes online, sometimes in other places, sometimes in a book, sometimes in an experience or a talk. But that is what I'm trying to get better at every day.
I'm taking copious notes, just so you know. Are you a morning writer, or are you when are you
I think I am. I think I am a morning writer, but I have kids, so I'll be a morning. I'll be like, any routine shifts completely when you have children, and so at the moment I'm at the mercy of school and soccer and theater and all those things, and have had to just not be romantic about, oh, I write in the morning. Oh, no, I write when it's quiet, when I have space. You know what? I write even when it's not quiet. I'm just, this has to get done. And, I also have had to be flexible in that way, because I also travel quite a bit for speaking. And I used to be like, oh, I don't draw. I can't do the art. I can't write on a plane because I get motion sickness, which is true. But even so, my desire for these things to exist is stronger than my desire to nap or my desire to, have a normal routine. It's driven now by like the North Star of making something beautiful that wasn't there before.
When do you feel like you could step back and go, OMG, I'm actually, I not only believe in this North Star, I'm doing it. And because was it overnight? Was it like 3 years? Is it a lifetime thing?
Yeah, well, I think a healthy answer would be I'm there now and it's okay and I'm, I'm enough. And there's this wrestling that can happen with a creative brain, and you know this quite well, where in your head is going, oh, but we haven't done this yet. Oh, this doesn't exist yet. Oh, but what if we do this? Because in my head, I'm going, oh, we haven't, I think we've talked about this. So like,
Yeah.
oh, I haven't built my theme park yet. Oh, I haven't, like,
Right.
the Broadway play of this story doesn't exist. Like, all these ridiculous, absurd things that you're like, but that, are possible. And yet that does not, though, define my worth. So I'm in a place now of not creating these things for validation, not creating anything for the hope that I will have arrived, but creating things as an offering, as like a, hey, I've been on a journey, I've been struggling, here's what I learned, here's what I want to share. Hey, I've been on a journey, here's what I learned about joy, and I want you to feel that too. Here's this. And doing that now has made it where I hope at the end of things I can look back and there's a library of all these kinds of experiences. But right now I'm in the midst of all of it, and it's a mess, but it's fun.
I don't know, man. You've you're very clear on the intentional side of it, and my brain isn't there yet. Like my brain's like, oh, if I keep waking up thinking about this idea and I can't shake it, it's still there. That is
Yeah,
the universe telling me to go tell that story. And
yeah,
I have like three right now that, it's like the scene of the sun and the planets, what's going around who, and I've got these stories going around, and I know I need to do, and so I honor that. But I really like the way you said, like, it's an offering. It's an offering to show you what love looks like, or to bring you joy, or to be at peace with this reality. And I think this is a very long-winded way of saying there's still lessons I need to learn from your work, to let myself surrender a little bit on
mm,
some of these ideas, and other parts of my life, which I don't know if it's good or bad that they're compartmentalized. When it comes to the courageous side of my life, I am very much like, thank you, higher power, for letting me go on this journey. And yes, like great stories, the hero thinks the treasure is one thing, right? And turns out to be something else. Like I thought I was going into this to like monetize a business idea, and realized, one, I needed this the most. Two, probably like you feel, although I actually want to ask you the question, it's there for my kids. Like, I want, if they so choose to live a courageous adventure, like I now have enough stuff out there that they can go find all the assets and piece it together. And
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
right, Micah and Mackenzie, I rarely ever say their name on the show. This is a good episode to listen to figure out how to go live the adventure as
Yeah.
you see it fit. So do you see it that way too? Like, do you feel like you're putting down these different treasure maps for your kids if they want to find them? Or do you just stay away from that and say, this is my offering to everyone, and I hope someone takes it and runs with it?
Oh yeah, it definitely becoming a parent unlocked a thing in me of going, I want to make them proud. Oh, I want to like, I've got to show them, be the man that they need in their life, like that, all of that. And there's an element of it that, I didn't think of it as courage, but it is because courage, you wrote a whole book on courage, the coming from that French word for heart, that like the Captain Planet. Do you remember this old cartoon, Captain Planet and the Planeteers? We used to make fun of it because, everybody has these rings with these powers. So there's like earth, and the earth comes up, and wind, and fire, and water. And then there's this little guy with a monkey, and he goes, heart. And we used to like laugh so hard and be like, oh man, he just got the worst power. Everybody else got all this cool stuff. And then I started to, quietly to myself go, oh, that's me. All my friends are good at football. Oh, he's really brilliant in science. Oh, he's fast. Oh, I have heart. And a thing though that I definitely am learning and leaning into is that is truly powerful. And for me, I became and am becoming more courageous the more I'm living in my heart, and I know here's what we're dreaming for. Here's what we're working for. This is what I dream of the future looking like, or the story I want to tell. That's my heart. And so it helps me because I'm pretty timid, actually. I can be nervous around new people. I can deal with all these insecurities that are loud in my head, but the dream is louder than all of that stuff because
Totally.
it's my heart.
Yeah, it's
So that
almost
gives me the
like
courage.
when the heart leads the way. Now, couldn't they
Yeah.
have done like a lion instead of a monkey? On top of that, it's like
He had everything against him. Everybody else, he looked cool, and
I
he's
just
just
see
like
this like
heart.
monkey with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
symbols versus it could have been a cute little lion with the heart. But
Yeah.
I think that what really lands with me is, and it's a theme that comes up quite a bit in a good way, when your North Star is so strong and clear that it's impossible for a fear to get in the way of not doing it.
hmm hmm
And even you say like writing it on a piece of paper,
Yep.
right. It's like, well, I can't not do this, right? This is who I really am. Like, at what point do you stop lying to yourself that this is, I have to honor this?
hmm
And so many people try to bury that down
hmm
versus being who they really are. So it's cool to hear you say things like, timid you, timid you doesn't stand a chance when you allow heart you to sort of lead the way, and
hmm hmm
right, and move forward. Let's talk a little bit about Kid President, and permission granted to take this wherever you want it to be. It was my intro to your world, and
Yeah.
it just so landed. Like, here I am, 2,000 miles away from Tennessee. I don't know you. I just see the beautiful work, and I'm like, we need this. Yes, we need more of this. This is my cup of coffee, and then I learned, and I shouldn't be surprised, but I learned in DC at the shift. I mean, you've met President Obama, you've worked with Beyonce. Like, can you believe like where it started to where it took you? Or you just like, what an adventure?
I will be on my deathbed scratching my head, going, what? Wait, Steve Martin, Beyonce? Like what? Uh, still baffled, which is kind of like the best, like I would love for life to continue to baffle me in that kind of way. But it was a beautiful journey to create something that was purely from a place of love. Like I loved my brother-in-law and working with him, who he played Kid President, and like that's where it grew from, is just to like being with him. And then like I was trying to find my creative voice, and so I had this habit of I'm gonna make a thing every week, and then seeing how people responded, that it was not just consuming a thing, but passing it along to somebody else because they wanted to transfer this joy or this emotion. And then it, leading to the White House. What? Like, that's so pure and good. And it found people and it confused people online. Like, wait, is this real? Is he really president? Like, is he, what is this? We would meet people in the airport and they would talk like to Robbie like he was actually, some sort of government official. Like, they would ask permission for things from him or like, give me a pep talk. And he's like, I like farts, like he's a kid. And so it was just this so absurd in the best way. And I loved that it was confusing to me that it was connecting in the way it was. And I think it confused the internet and how like it was coming from a place of real care. Like I still believe all that stuff that, the Kid President pep talk that really resonated with people in a big way. Like that was maybe the first video a lot of people saw that we had made because it found millions of people. But that was maybe like the 18th video. We had made a bunch and I had made a bunch that summer before. And so like, and then they're like, hey, I like your video. We're like, which one? We've made a lot. And so there was a lot of seeing how far a message can spread and what that can do for people. And the biggest thing I learned from all of that is this thing I'm addicted to now. And it's that we would create a story that we would share online and then it would create more stories. So like we threw a parade for a postal worker here in town. We live in a small town in West Tennessee, filmed it. I put it on the internet. And then a week later, there's 15 other parades across the country. And even like years later, this is 10 years later, and people are still going, hey, we threw a parade just because. And so what's cooler than one parade? Like hundreds of parades. Like, and so realizing that the stories we tell can create the world we live in is, yes, that's big responsibility, but it's pretty cool.
If you track the logic of how it came to be, you can put your finger on almost everything that we've talked about. Like, yeah, wow, I wish I would have known what an inspiration Mr. Rogers was to you, because I can now see that in the work. And Robbie's, in some ways, it's like you said, be who you need when you were younger, right? And there's some of that in the work. There's obviously make goodness attractive, which is in the work. There's the thoughtfulness in the work. There's, as you just said, create a story that creates story that are in the work. I wonder if the only thing that is really curious as someone that likes to like deconstruct the meal and try to understand, right, is the confusion part, right? Because the confusion part is also another way to say that on the positive side is the fascinating part. I actually have to stop. You've short circuited my autopilot, and now I have to try to understand. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Like
yes. Well, so, I'm also like a big comedy nerd. I've always been a fan of comedy to the degree, like memorizing old Mel Brooks, Carl Reiner records, The 2,000-Year-Old Man, like all of these things that are silly, but that make you think and that are playful, but somehow a little profound. And there's an element of that to what we were doing on YouTube that was, entertaining and disarming in the way that somebody who's funny can do to a room. But that disarms you so that you are ready to receive something that is, hey, actually, this is why we're here on this planet. Like that. It's like, they're not going to sit down and go, hey, I'd really like to see a video about life's purpose. And instead, is that was actually why Soul Pancake reached out. Rainn Wilson had created this project with his friends and these really brilliant people, and they were wanting to have big discussions about heavy things. They had a docu-series they were in the middle of that's called My Last Days. And it was people who, had terminal illnesses, and they were following them in the last few days of their lives. And they were about to launch that on YouTube, and then they're going, this is really heavy. We need something light.
Some levity.
And here's this odd little thing we were creating online that was just this. I wanted it to be a ball of sunshine that was just we called it a hand grenade of happiness, which sounds violent, but it that kind of energy is interesting to me. This rebellious joy, that kind that's a little mischievous, but that isn't there to stir things up for bad. It's there to break down all the stuff that's nonsense and point you to what really matters.
We're sadly getting close to an hour here, which does make me slightly sad because this is such a fast conversation, and I guess in the spirit of the topic of courage, was there a moment, have you had a moment in the journey where you're like, this was the most brave, this was a courageous moment for Brad Montague, and or you get it out. This is this is fitting that this is a choose your own adventure question, right? You can decide if you want to turn to page 86 or 11. I always say in the moment it's hard to leap, but almost every single time you do it, out when you release that tension, you're almost always happier when you do. So, thinking through these two possible questions, is there something that pops for you?
It's almost, it's not almost, it is embarrassing to share that most of the things that I've been most afraid of were quite small and inconsequential. If I were to put it on paper, it sounds nonsense because there's real people, going into burning buildings and doing things that, that kind of courage. And then to think about being afraid of quitting my job, being afraid of posting a thing on the internet, being afraid of being honest about my um, feelings and sharing it in a way that as a man I didn't know you could. Like doing things like that on a consistent basis um, has never been comfortable, but it leads me to better places. Like that quote, the treasure you long to seek is, there's something with a dragon in the cave. I don't know. He's Joseph Campbell knows, but the cave you fear to enter has the treasure you seek. Is that it? Maybe.
Yeah.
Like at the moment, my wife and I are working on an art show. That's the first time I've done painting and done a big show like this. And it is silly how afraid I am to put a brush to canvas, to do this and share it with people. But I know I'll be proud when we're done. So it's the courage is in showing up every day.
Well, I will fly to that city and I will be there to support you. And then I will remind you that you should probably have a digital auction as well, just to retweet people. But that's a separate conversation, Brad.
I need your business brain. Gotta figure this out.
It's awesome. Do you know when you want to have the show?
So it's happening in the fall. So we have a book coming out that's called Failabration. It's actually about failure and overcoming like the fear of the thing of defining yourself against the things that didn't go right, but recognizing it's part of this journey and process. And so we're doing a whole show around this idea of the creative journey and the mess that you make and the community that can be created when you show up with courage to do the thing that's in front of you. So that's all happening this fall.
I love Failabration. All right, here that's it's like I can just see it. And it's so true that we have the wrong idea of what failing is. And that would need another hour of the show to go deep. And maybe we'll get you back and we can do that. Sequel. We'll do a sequel. We'll run Quantum Leap back and we'll do it again.
I like how you put it earlier. We're gonna Scott Bakula you.
We're gonna
I'm gonna Scott Bakula to the future.
It's happening. All right. Take us home. I mean, let's honor the fact that lots of people are really impressed and intrigued, and I'll say it. I mean, I'm enamored with your wisdom, your wonder, and your whimsy. You are a wizard. You know, your ability to take us on the journey. I sat there in the audience and just smiled. It wasn't anything but pure and real, appreciating, oh, where is he taking us? Right? And I knew you were at peace and were in control and were going to bring us back and show and tell. And it's a gift that you have. So take us home, man. What do we need to know right now? What do we need to feel right now?
Thank you. That a thing that I have been thinking about a lot and recognizing, because I visit classrooms often and speaking with teachers, and a thing I've picked up from really great teachers is that they somehow see the nobility of every student, even the just hard to love ones. Like they see the nobility in them, and then they see that in me, and I see what that does for the students and what it does for that room. Like I've been in schools where the whole school feels like just like it's on fire, like it's just a nightmare. It's scary, it's cold, it's empty. And then I'll go to a teacher's classroom and it's just this oasis. And the ability to transform a room like that is really special. But I've also seen that in companies when I speak. I've seen it in places. And what it is really, it's always when there's somebody who sees things differently. They see the nobility in the people in front of them, and they're willing to pause and lift that up, and it just changes the whole room. and so the more and more I see that, like I am somebody who follows the news. I see everything, but I remain a stubborn optimist because I know how one person seeing the nobility in another person and celebrating that can change a room, can change a building, can change everything. And I don't think I'm being overly simplistic. I don't think it's childish. It is childlike, and I'm okay with that. So that's what I'm aiming for, and I'm trying to celebrate those people who are doing that.
It's awesome. Well, thank you for doing it. Thank you for giving us an hour and for bringing yourself here. Here's to more rooms, more impact. Honor the impact you've already made because it's mind blown. And looking forward to the art show and the Scott Bakula sequel.
Yeah, Bakula to the podcast.
Brad Montague, everybody. Thanks for joining us, Brad.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.